Hello, everyone. This is Dan Ferrisi, Editor-in-Chief of Commercial Integrator, and welcome to AV Plus, the podcast for the commercial AV integration industry. This week, we have a fascinating discussion with Mark Loftus, who has been with AV-IQ for about 2 decades now, and actually is the former owner of AV-IQ. We explore all the ways that the online database and web resource can benefit commercial AV integrators. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube page, and please subscribe to the AV Plus podcast on Apple and on Spotify. So happy to be joined this afternoon by Mark Loftus, who has been with AV-IQ since 2002. As many of you know, AV-IQ was recently acquired by Emerald X, and Mark actually is the former owner of AV-IQ, so he's still very, very much involved with that organization, that brand, and I want to get into all the details about the benefits that AV-IQ offers to the integration community that Commercial Integrator serves. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. I appreciate having the opportunity to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan.
So obviously, I would think most people in the commercial integration community are very familiar with AV-IQ. It is a brand that has provided tremendous value to countless integrators for decades at this point. But for those who may want just a refresher about what AV-IQ is on a top-line level, what might you want to share?
Yeah, thanks. Generally speaking, AV-IQ is a database, and it was built a little over 20 years ago by some commercial integrators, some pro AV integrators, who were really looking to make data delivery a more efficient process. They were moving from paper catalogs to into the time where manufacturers were building websites and starting to put their product information and a little bit of a detail into their websites, but it wasn't in a common format and it wasn't very searchable, and you had to go to multiple manufacturer websites to find everything you were looking for. And so they built this database, and it was pretty quickly sold to the Pro AV Trade Association, now called AVIXA. At the time, I think it was ICIA, and then Infocom, and now AVIXA. And so we really serve that Pro AV community, whether it's their membership or through the trade show, and kind of started to build out that database, and then create the website that they could search and do detailed product specification for their projects.
Fantastic. So what I really want to do is kind of dig into some of the real concrete benefits that integrators can derive from utilizing AV-IQ and tightly integrating with its offerings. I think the most important one, most likely, is that AV-IQ offers the opportunity for integrators to build in essentially their product catalog through AV-IQ into their website with their brands. Can you kind of explain that and the benefits of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So back when we really first started, every integrator that we ran across on their website would have a section on their website either titled brands or line card. And you would get to a page that had logos of all their preferred brands. And those logos would then link off to all the manufacturers' websites. And that was really kind of, I don't think they were doing themselves a service by sending their customer or the user that just landed on their website off to a manufacturer's website, where they may end up doing the product research there. And then once they find what they were looking for on the manufacturer's website, they might end up using the manufacturer's find a reseller functionality and going to somebody else. Mm-hmm. So what we were providing was taking the central database for the AV industry and giving them the ability to customize it, to pick the preferred brands that they work with, model it to look exactly like their website. So we take the look, feel, design, navigation of their own website, and then we give them a URL that they can replace that old line card or brands page that they had on their website, and not just have those brands represented on their site for their customer base to use, but also then go further than just having a logo representation. You get all of the detailed product information, and in most cases, you're going to get the manufacturer's marketing material along with it. So when you're looking for a product, you want to see potentially what case studies they're in, what articles they might be associated with. We've got manufacturers have the ability to add content like webinar content, online training content. So it's really the full breadth of what you would find on a manufacturer's website, but you can instantly create your own digital catalog, your own customized database that you put on your website, where you can find information from all of the brands that you work with.
And I can't stress enough how valuable that is. I mean, being a media member, for example, you know that when people are on your site, what you want to do is keep them on your terrain, on your properties. And as you say, if you're directing people to manufacturers' websites, dozens or hundreds of manufacturers' websites, you're losing kind of control of the client or the customer in that case. And this kind of protects you. If they're on your website, they're looking to work with you, they're looking for your brands, it keeps them in your ballpark. So I think that's tremendously valuable. Now, if someone is on the AV-IQ website, my understanding is there is a find a dealer functionality on individual company pages and things like that. So if I am an integrator and I work with AV-IQ, it actually can direct people to me, correct? If I'm a Crestron dealer or a Kramer dealer, or whatever the case is, and they're looking for those products.
Yeah, absolutely. So our main website, av-iq.com, we market that out to an end user audience. And like I said, because we were owned by Avixa for so long, it's the same type of people that attend a show. So when people go to a trade show, they're looking for the latest, greatest products and technology. They can do that on our website year round. And so we market that to those types of maybe AV engineers or design consultants, architects, tech managers, corporate AV tech managers, people whose position in their company is to figure out what kind of AV products that they might need for whatever installs that they're looking for. And from every one of those pages that they can view on AV-IQ, as they do product comparisons or look through any content on our website, every page has the opportunity for them to put in a city, state, zip code, find a dealer, or find an integrator functionality. So we'll list out those results, and then they click over into the catalog that we've created for that integrator, which is essentially bringing them to the integrator's website.
Mm-hmm. Now, you kind of alluded to all the resources that are on the AV-IQ website, and it's really a tremendous library of resources. You had mentioned like case studies, for example. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's something on the order of 2,000 different case studies talking about deployments of commercial AV technology, which is just a treasure trove, having come from a magazine formerly that, trafficked in application stories. That to me would just be endlessly interesting. Also, so many other things, side-by-side feature and spec comparisons, the ability to add products to project lists and export those project lists. If I'm an integrator and I'm exploring AV-IQ, and I recognize, as you say, a lot of it's kind of built for an end user audience in terms of trafficking on your site directly, what can an integrator get from exploring AV-IQ?
Yeah, so we do get a lot of positions within the integrator who's using the main website as well, that maybe their company hasn't gotten their own catalog on their website yet, so they end up on the main website. And like you said, they can create a profile for themselves where they can build project lists, customize their experience a little bit by selecting the brands that they're the most interested in. They can even set up alerts where they'll get an email that tells them that that brand just added a new product to the database, or a new video, or a new press release. So you can get alerts about the content and kind of customize your search experience. The nice thing about that is if you are an integrator and you've got that has that catalog that we've built for you on the website, as much as it's a resource for your customer base, it's also a tremendous resource for your own staff. So your staff, whether it be sales staff or your engineers or your designers who need to find that information quickly, they now have it right at their fingertips on their own website. So there is no longer the experience of Googling something, finding a manufacturer's website, opening it up, doing another Google search, another manufacturer's website, and so on, to the point where I hear this all the time. when I go to trade shows and talk to people that work for integrators, they'll have literally dozens of browsers opened up on their desktop with different manufacturers' websites across different product types, trying to specify what's going to fit their need. And if they can do that all on a single website or in a single catalog that actually lives on their own website, you're talking about hours and hours of time saved for your staff. And so as we get into an area where workforce shortages and trying to create efficiencies within your workforce, this is a tool that can really benefit every integrator in the industry.
So I want to get into kind of the roadmap and the vision for AV-IQ now that it is part of Emerald. I know that you have a lot of big ideas about, different benefits, different ways it can grow and integrate within our organization. But hopefully just the conversation we've had so far has whetted integrators' appetites and made them think, I want to work with AV-IQ, I want to invest in this opportunity. So if I'm an integrator and I want to kind of integrate myself with AV-IQ and work with you guys and get that product catalog on my website, how do I do that? What's the first step that I should take, and what's the process?
Yeah, so well, first, I guess you can contact, you can go to our main website, and there is a section on our website that is in our About Us section. There's 4 integrators, and it'll detail some of the things that we've talked about today. But there's information about how to contact a sales rep. So you can start by doing that, and then the process is really, we'll meet with you and go over what your needs are. We start to build that catalog. Typically that only takes about 7 to 10 business days to get that figured out. You'll get a tool, a back-end tool from us where you make the selections of what brands you are looking for. Which another great thing that this does for you is within that tool, you get detailed analytics about what's happening in that catalog on your website. So every month you can look at what were the top viewed brands or top viewed products or top viewed marketing materials. And then you can get some sort of user data and good market research from that as well. So all that comes in there, and we kind of go over that in an onboarding call. And we keep the cost pretty low. We want the barrier to entry to be really low. And so you can do this for as little as $150 a month and an annual subscription to have that catalog. And so it's a pretty short process in onboarding and getting it implemented. Once we build it, we just give you the link, and then you embed that into your navigation wherever you think is the most appropriate place for it on your website.
So as we've said, AV-IQ is now part of Emerald, so it's going to be incumbent on, my colleagues and me, your new family at Emerald, to leverage all the assets of AV-IQ as much as possible and serve the integrators and the end user community. What is your vision for what you would like to see AV-IQ further evolve into, further become over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years? I know it's already a fantastic offering, but how can it even be better?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we looked at Emerald and what they have to offer and the spaces that they live in, AV-IQ, as I mentioned, has always been a database that serves the commercial AV industry. And over the years, we've done a little bit with manufacturers that do both commercial and some residential, and we occasionally run across some manufacturers that do a little bit of security products. And so the very first thing that I've wanted to do with the brand is really build out that residential AV space. And so with this acquisition, on the commercial AV side, obviously we get to bolster our audience in the current form that AV-IQ is in. We get to bolster our audience with Commercial Integrator, with the Total Tech Summit event, and some of the other things that Emerald brings to the table for that, and really just kind of grow on what we've already done. But this allows us to then build out the residential side of things. And so later in January, we will be launching a version of AV-IQ specifically for the residential AV market. So residential AV-IQ will launch later in January. And we'll really align that with CE Pro and of course the CEDIA Expo show. And so we'll have this entire resource built out for that vertical market dedicated to that space. And then further down the road with some of the brands that Emerald has with security and sales integration and campus security and things that they do in the security space, year 2 and year 3, it will be looking to grow this platform into that space as well.
So in essence, AV-IQ, as we know, is already an indispensable commercial AV resource, but it will eventually become an indispensable residential AV resource, security integration resource, basically all forms of integration you want to have a hand in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing about our database is it's easy to replicate that. And certainly the first sort of simple side step for us is building out residential.
So Journalism School 101, my last question is always, is there anything I should have asked that I have not yet asked?
No, I mean, I think the one thing that I would just add to it is, between our main website and the integrator catalogs that we've got, the network of those, we're seeing pretty consistently over the last couple of years, 60,000 unique visitors each month. So it's getting a lot of traffic, it's bringing an audience and an exposure. And I think that's, as I talked about the new acquisition, it's sort of the tip of the iceberg. I think we're only going to see that grow more and more. And so this is a resource that I think, if it's not known by everybody already, it will be in the coming months.
I think that's a sure thing. And I appreciate you taking the time to apprise our audience of all the updates with AV-IQ. Thank you so much, Mark Loftus, who has been with, as I say, AV-IQ since 2002, actually the former owner of it, and who has an amazing vision to make it even better in the years and decades ahead. So thank you once again, Mark. This is Dan Ferrisi, Editor-in-Chief of Commercial Integrator, and have a great day.